Okay, so we're going to have a look at the hip flexor stretch now. I've got Ben Ajamian. Ben is my third Dan student who's the head instructor at my dojo, and he's worn a t-shirt and a pair of shorts so he can see more clearly the shape of the body. So we incorporate the hip flexor stretch to a degree when we do the traditional 3-count exercise. We stretch one way. There you'll find the hip flexor stretch, but we don't hold it for long enough, and then you'll spin around to the third position here normally. But it's really important, and we incorporate it to, as far as possible, hold this shape. Okay, so you've got the hip flexors, the muscles in front of the hips that flex the hip joint. And that's what you're trying to do with the stretch, is get maximal stretch through here. Ben's holding his arms back because that increases the shape of the body to increase the range of the hip flexor during this stretch. So you see there, he's off his knee. You can also put your knee down if you have knee problems, absolutely not a problem. Another way, so everything he's doing, he's trying to increase that range of motion. And you can just do it through the 3-count exercise as normal. And then when you hold the hip flexor stretch, you can hold it much longer. There's absolutely no reason why you don't hold this hip flexor stretch for much, much longer. When I say it's really, really underestimated, it really is. It's so important. So this is getting into the stretch now. Take your time, keep your balance. If you want, you can put your knee down. I do on my right knee because my knee problem won't allow me to hold my stability here. But the important point that you're after here is to increase this range of motion. See now, Ben puts his hand behind his head now. That increases this stretch. So you can see here, we're about 90 degrees. What we need is to open this up as much as you can. So right now, if that's 180, that's 270. So this is probably around 240 degrees here at the hip joint, and that's what you want. Now you can hold this for 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, 50 minutes. It doesn't matter. I'm not suggesting you hold it in this position 50 minutes. What you can do is you can sit down on the floor, put a cushion under your pillow, a cushion under your knee, have a little table here, maybe even the sofa with something you can read, or facing the TV, or anything you want. And then another thing you can do is sit in front of the sofa and have the sofa here and put your leg up. To start off with, you can have it at that angle with your hip foot down. If that's too much, flatten your, extend your ankle. Then gradually increase the height. So you increase the flexion of your knee, so to the point where it's straight up there, and that increases the stretch on the quads and the hip flexors even more so. Now, this one stretch is so important because it limits everything you do with your legs. So that means footwork. When you start to fatigue, your lack of hip flexor range will start to show. So it's really a valuable stretch. You can't do enough of it. Obviously, you don't do 50 minutes before you train hard. See, Ben just went forward a little more there and increased that even further. So you can do that. Now, I tend to hold it for breaths. So most of the time people count 1, 2, 3, etc. I hold it for breath. So here I'd be breathing in. And you hold it for 3 breaths and you'll find a release. Hold it for 4, find a release. Obviously, if you're holding for a lot longer, you want to get to where you're comfortable and hold that for as many breaths as you want. In fact, if you're holding for 10, 15 minutes, you're not even counting your breaths anymore. And come around. Ben's just had a reco on his knee in the last 12 months, so he's still looking for full flexibility, full range of motion in his knee. So once again, side to side. You can do it in the 3 count, or you can do it just like this. The arm behind the head increases the range of motion through the hip here. That's really vital. And the other side, once again, you can put your knee down. Sometimes you can even press forward like that, bring the hip forward to increase that range. Ben's body came forward slightly there. If possible, you want to keep the body back. So there you have it. That's the hip flexor stretch. Very, very important. And it's definitely something that you want to add to your own training program, as well as the training of your students.